Next session is changing face of angel investment. I'd like to call the present of India and the future of India, a man we are so proud of, the man behind Snapdeal, ladies and gentlemen, Kunal Bell, please on stage. While Kunal comes up, ladies and gentlemen, this man. Oh yeah! Great to have you on stage. Thank you, Kunal. I request you to please take your seats. Wow, that was a strong whistle for you. You're a married guy. Was it a lady who made the whistle or the guy? Whichever, he's married, he's taken, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, here is a man we are very, very inspired. A man who's done so much for the country. A man we look up to. The living legend, the Padma Vibhushan. Ladies and gentlemen, Ratan and TATA. Keep the applause louder. Let the whole of India know that Ratan and TATA is with us this evening. TiCon Mumbai 2016 is truly, truly privileged, enriched, and inspired by this living legend's presence. Keep it going, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, the man whom we love so much, Mr. Ratan and TATA. So I request you to please take your seats. And as you can see, we're all so excited to see you and we love you so much, sir. Kunal, I'm going to leave you with sir. Thank you. Give it up for both of them, ladies and gentlemen. What a session's going to be.
So I definitely have to say, I never thought growing up this day will ever come, where I'd be 6 inches away from someone I feel not every Indian, but every human being ever born and to be born should take inspiration from. You know, one day about a year and a half ago, I was going from home to office, and I got a call from someone I know. He said, someone really wants to talk to you about potentially investing in your company. And I said, okay, who is it? He said, I can't tell you the name. Are you interested or not? It was a very generic. I said, yes. Which entrepreneur says no? And a few conversations later, I got a hint that it was Mr. Tata. And I just got the next flight and went to Bombay. And my first meeting with Mr. Tata, I was so nervous. I just didn't know what to expect. I remember I was walking up towards his office and I saw him standing in his office. It's like you're meeting someone you've seen over the years, seen on TV, seen in newspapers, never thought you would meet in flesh and blood, let alone shake hands with. And I was extremely nervous. I walked into Mr. Tata's office, and contrary to what we all think about big traditional businessmen in India who sit on big chairs behind big tables, and the guys who come to meet are somewhere back there. Mr. Tata actually just pulled a chair and just came and sat next to me. And he asked me a question. So, your growth story is amazing. How do you do logistics? And that was the first question I remember you asked me. What I'd love to know now, in retrospect, what got you even thinking about investing in young startups like ours or others, as well as maybe even about our company or our meeting that got you interested?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for putting me at ease. I've been as nervous about sitting 6 inches from you as you have been. Basically, after I retired, it seemed to me that there was a whole new world out there, which was a digital world driven by a marketplace that was basically had a huge potential, driven by handheld devices, which would one day become the virtual retail store of India. And I didn't know your company or others in the business, other than I was struck by the name. And it was a learning experience, it still is a learning experience for me to learn of this new world, which is like a virtual world of the business I've been in for 20 years. The virtual part is replaced or overshadowed by my impression of the founders. And our meeting, when you left my office, I had confirmed in my mind that I would invest in your company. And to that extent, I made you a promise which I haven't kept, was to come and sit with your people and chat. And we haven't done that as yet, but I'm still looking forward to doing it. So it was fortuitous. It could have gone another way. And it was the start of a new journey that I am absolutely thrilled to be a part of. Unfortunately, I don't have billions of dollars. Maybe you do, to invest in. I'm the less fortunate investor with less capital than you have at your disposal, learning how to catch up.
Yeah, the only difference is this one is not our money, but I remember I knew I could answer most of the business-oriented questions. The question I was most nervous asking you that day was, can we take a selfie? And I remember, I think there was, to my dismay, there was like a fraction of a second pause, because I know Mr. Tata's probably asked this question every day, 20 times a day, can I take a selfie with you? And I think he's probably conditioned to take a pause and decide whether he should say yes or no. But he instantly said yes. And I remember that's probably one of the most memorable photographs I've had since in my lifetime.
Thank you.
I remember I showed it to my mom, and she was like, okay, you seem to be on the right track now.
You should let him invest.
Same applied to my wife. Then she understood why I was not showing up at home for most of the time. Sir, when you look at entrepreneurs you meet, what are one or two things that you're looking for in them? I'm sure you met many throughout your career, but at least in these new generation companies, which are young, often very green, what what are the few, I know you don't spend hours with them while making an assessment, you make a quick assessment. In that quick assessment, what are you generally looking for?
Well, first of all, and I say this sincerely, even when I was chairman of TATA's, I was always very intrigued and enthusiastic of interacting with younger people because they're the future of the country. And new startups, in fact, embody the creativity and the innovation of young people. And so for me, it was and is a very worthwhile experience to interact with them. I've learned a lot, probably more than you believe. So the thing that I'm intrigued by first is a startup that has an interesting concept which excites me. If it doesn't excite me, I really don't need to make an investment in that company. The second is what I feel about the founders. And that's just first impressions as such. A founder that is only in for the short term, has no passion for the sector that he is in or the business he's building, doesn't give me a great deal of comfort. And lastly, in my small way, if I can be of help in supporting or lending my support to a founder who either has an interesting business or who doesn't get funding from others because his business is not a sexy business that the investing public or investors feel satisfied in. I feel that if that founder has the passion and has the innovation, he needs to be supported. So those are some of the issues. Underlying all of that, I'm more intuitive than a numbers person. And I also recognize that not all investments are going to be positive. Some may fail and some may have problems for different reasons. But that's life.
So how many people here are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs? Entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs? How many want Mr. Tata's investment? I think...
Then you'll need Kunal's money because...
I think you're by far probably the most sought after investor in India. And I think entrepreneurs like myself and others you have backed and others you have not backed are all benefiting from your blessings for the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And we are all very thankful to you for that. Thank you.
I'm thankful to you too. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to call Anand and Mr. Javeri now to just join us, and we'll have a little more chat here. Okay, they're right here. Give them a round of applause, please.
Should I go first? Yes, you're the chairman. Mr. Tata, two questions. One is, I think that everyone over here would like to understand your perspective of an entrepreneur's value system, which I think today, if you look at where this country is going and what we need to be doing over the next 10 years, if you don't build the right value systems, you could potentially get lost somewhere down the road. And the second question to you, sir, is really more about a transformational question. And that is really that if you, having run a large corporate conglomerate, you're seeing a lot of disruption happening globally. The recent example, which is in my view quite startling, is General Motors going and investing in a car share company called Lyft, $500 million, which at some point in time, 2-3 years ago, one wouldn't have thought possible. So,
Yeah, I think any business, you go back in history, has had a small number of people in that sector who want to be disruptive, not in a destructive way, but want to move to a new plateau of, they see an opportunity, they see something that has not been tried. And more often than not in traditional businesses, certainly the areas that I have been involved in, there have been progressive companies that are willing to bet on the future, and that there are a large segment of companies that protect their investment in the sector, in the process and the business they're in. And that large sector is a negative side. They're not disruptive, they're destructive, because they fight the new maverick business that comes in. And so it is in the transformation we're seeing today. You have companies that are heavily invested in brick and mortar, or heavily invested in a traditional form of doing business, and the virtual or the digital world is a disruption to them. They would like it to go away, they would like it to fail, they would like it not to succeed. And the fact that it is sort of knocking their feet out from under them makes them bitter and makes them aggressive. Whereas, in fact, they ought to see how best they can adapt to the given times. If we look at changing times, we tend to respect people who can adapt themselves at that time and others that don't. So you have 60-year-old people who think like 40-year-old and 30-year-olds, and you have 60-year-olds who think like 60-year-olds and defend their turf. We are going through a transformation in India. We have almost 1 billion cell phone owners. Many of them are smartphone owners. And they carry in their pockets a virtual retail outlet for goods and services that they need. Is that disruptive? No, it's evolutionary or even revolutionary, because it addresses a section of the population which could never be addressed with the connectivity, physical connectivity we have. So my attitude is, why would we fight it? We should see whether we can employ the mindset to run a similar business, because the opportunity is there.
Sir, I have a question, a small rejoinder, then I'll go to Kunal. You bought Chorus in 2005-06, and then you bought Jaguar, right? You talked about investing just using your intuition. Was it even intuition at that time also, or is it different now when you invest in startups?
No, it was not. It was somewhat strategic.
Okay.
We were the second largest SUV manufacturer. Range Rover was a company that fitted well on top of that.
Right.
Certainly, I had several meetings with Ford to separate Jaguar from Land Rover, because I didn't know what I would be able to do with Jaguar.
Right.
And finally, there was no choice but to accept both of them.
Got it.
As far as Chorus was concerned, at that time, I think we were stuck in delays in mining licenses and various things, and we couldn't grow. And I thought that this would be a way to get an international capability to address markets. The thing I didn't know, and I think fairly I couldn't be accused of being flamboyant about, was I wouldn't know that the European economy was going to collapse.
Right.
Nor did many others that should have.
Sir, what do you enjoy more? Did you enjoy the Chorus and Jaguar experience more, or do you enjoy investing in Kunal and Ola cabs more?
One's a straight investment, the other was
Right.
a more involved
You were also
day-to-day
executing,
activity.
right? Okay.
So two different things, both of them equally enjoyable. Everything good that happens to Kunal is very, very pleasant for me. Anything that
So there is a there is a reason Kunal is smiling a lot today. Kunal, congratulations, by the way. Thanks for sharing the moment with us on Twitter. We wouldn't have found out so soon. So Kunal, I mean, you've been investing a lot, right? In 2015 especially. You will probably have less time now, and will you see the world differently? More clean tech, more sustainability, or it'll be the same things?
So for those who are wondering what he's referring to, I posted a photo of our baby who was born just 5 days ago. So
Yeah.
thank you. I'm quite excited and sleepless. But I never thought how much sleep I will lose. But now I do. Sorry? No, even investors didn't give this much sleeplessness. Sorry, to your question, I think, look, at least from my perspective, it's more to keep why I do angel investing along with Rohit, my partner. It's just to keep our thinking fresh. The most cutting edge entrepreneurship is being done by the entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
right? And we can't start living in a silo or a bubble thinking everything that we are doing is the most cutting edge thing as a company. So we have some principles though in what we will invest, what we will not invest. We mostly, for the most part, invest in marketplaces that are reducing the asymmetry of information between demand and supply, because India is a country that's been completely ravaged by middlemen over the years. And if you can cut out 1, 2, 3, 4 middlemen in the middle, our economy benefits, people benefit, sellers benefit. So whether it was Ola cabs or others, that was the principle. I think the other is, of course, just, I want to keep benchmarking our company versus the new entrepreneurs.
Oh, okay.
Right? I don't want us to fall behind in terms of talent quality.
So Kunal, I mean, Dhanpal, I'll come to you. No, the question is, do you sometimes worry that you're now like 7, 8 years old, Snapdeal? Right? And e-commerce at least is 5 years old?
Yeah, 4 years, yeah.
4 years old, right? Do you think that, 4 years hence, young startup will come and disrupt you? Do you get that feeling?
I think we will not be killed by our current competitors. If we are going to be killed, we are going to be killed by someone who doesn't exist today. And that actually keeps us very paranoid.
Kunal, I think that kind of is a good segue into a point in time where you felt yourself that you may not exist. Tell us about that roller coaster ride. Tell us what happened. And, I think a lot of people out here would kind of want to know, right? If they do get that point in life, how do they move forward?
I think if you haven't seen that in the journey of being an entrepreneur, you haven't seen anything. It's extremely character building. It's, of course, stressful when it's happening. But if you stick with it, you stay sincere, and you come out of it, you become a stronger person, stronger organization, and more confident. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter anyways, right? So either way, it's important to stay sincere in those situations. I think one such case, the multiple such cases, mostly with entrepreneurs, it's about running out of money, right? Most entrepreneurs face that. So in our case, about 2.5 years ago, we were down to $100,000 in the bank. We had to pay $1 million of salary. It wasn't a fun place to be because we had over 1,000 employees. And we were responsible for them and their team members and their family members. And we somehow or the other were able to get a loan from our investors, from others. We were able to pull it through. But farther back in 2009, I remember we were a small company, but we had to pay 5 lakhs of salaries, and which is more similar to companies in the early stages. We were left with 5 lakhs and, we had to pay 5 lakhs of salaries, and me and Rohit were left with about 5 lakhs in our bank account. That was a moment of truth for us where we could have walked away, or we could have said, let's just go all in, nothing left. We decided to do the latter, and him and I were left with a total of about 25,000 rupees in our bank account. So when a VC would call us and say, come pitch to us, we would say, let's do a Skype. And sometimes you got to show that confidence, and they feel that, okay, these guys must be working on something useful. And there are many such situations. There are more operational ones also where, oftentimes entrepreneurs run into the problem of people not taking them seriously. I remember in our earlier avatar where we were selling coupon books, we started as a publishing company. We, people would not take our calls because we are hustling and harassing. And so the realization would dawn that just don't pick up these guys' phones. We would try, Rohit would try one day, then I would try one day. Third day we would give what is called a standing ovation. We would just show up, right? And those were tough times also when people would not respond, because that's also very demotivating. One time I remember, I don't know why I'm saying this so publicly, but when I moved from the US, I got a Vonage phone. For those who know, it's a voice over IP phone where you actually get a US number. So you know where this is going. So when one gentleman, marketing head of an apparel company, did not pick up my phone, I actually called him from the Vonage phone sitting in Kirtinagar office, and he picked up the phone instantly. So I think there are many such examples. And he said, come meet me. I said, I'm in the US. But if you'll meet me tomorrow, I'll fly back right now. But I think there are many such examples, of course, where heart-wrenching denials from investors or potential partners. But you have to just you have to steamroll through. You just have to keep going at it.
A little bit of white lies don't matter, right? In the long journey of.
It wasn't a lie.
Ratan Tata investor has become the most popular headline in newspapers these days, Probably less often than Sequoia invest in something or Matrix invest in something. What next can we expect from you? I mean, is this going to be a formal program or will it continue? How long? And, are you going to expand the ambit of what you're doing currently?
I have a view that one's personal investments should remain their personal investments. Unfortunately, the media seems to make one's personal idea of investing one's funds an issue of being in the public domain, which is, I think, unfortunate. But that being what it is, I'd have to say that you don't need to ask me, you just need to read it in the media, because they seem to be more interested in letting everybody know other than myself.
Sir, are you going to increase the number of startups, or is there a plan, or is this will still be driven by intuition?
There's no plan. It's been driven by, as I think I said before you came on the stage, and driven by one's view of founder, a view of the excitement that you get from a sector that somebody is in, the level of innovation that strikes you. And if all those things are met, one makes an investment because you're very happy and proud to be a part of it. And if it doesn't, you stay out.
Kunal, I think you and Rohit obviously have built a very successful business, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, one of the biggest challenges they face is that do they come in single as a founder? Do they have a co-founder? Is there a group of people who get together? How do you manage the dynamics? How would you kind of look at your journey and then kind of suggest what's the right path? And how does one manage that if it's more than one?
I actually don't know of many companies that was started, became very successful in a relatively short period of time with a single founder. Or it's someone super exceptional, right? And obviously possible, but at least I never had that much faith in my own, like I didn't have supernatural faith in my abilities that somehow I can do everything. Also, it's about who do you want to do the journey with. Right? Rohit and I were best friends since high school. I could never imagine doing anything business without his partnership. And I think in the early days, while we were great friends, and there's always, people caution entrepreneurs, don't go into business with friends or family or whatever. Doesn't matter. If you get along with a person, you can tolerate each other through thick and thin, it's fine. We had great personal equation. In the early days, we had a lot of friction around professional decisions with the company, but we always talked it out. Over a period of time, what happened was we are both strong-willed, strong-minded individuals, opinionated, as entrepreneurs generally are. But even if we go into a room, even today, with two different opinions, when we come out, it'll be one opinion, and it won't matter whose opinion it was. And that's what the company will then execute. So it's very important. I think it's very important to have that calibration. It all stems from mutual respect for your co-founder. I don't think there is a smarter person than Rohit that I have met in my life, right? And I don't know what he says about me, but but at least all decisions that require tremendous intellectual horsepower, I just go to him and say, Rohit, can you tell me what we should do? And whatever he says, we apply our minds mutually and we do it.
So there's no family war room where you go into and lock up and bash each other up and decide then who's winner.
No, nothing like that.
Mr. Tata, I actually asked the question earlier, and maybe just to the value system. How do you and what should be the value system entrepreneurs should, adopt going forward? Because that seems to be somewhere in this journey of creating wealth, and which is not a bad thing. But how does one kind of keep that compass correct?
Of course, values, you can only, value system or ethical standards, you can only determine as you watch somebody go through their working career, look at their organization. But intuitively, you can make your judgment. You could be wrong, but you make your judgment about one's value system, how they operate their business. One must not confuse ambition and aggression for bad values if they're done with a value system in mind. But it's something that I think everyone will agree, you really find out about a person's values when you have a crisis. And earlier you asked about what you do if you are being threatened of being non-existent. That's also a crisis, and that's a mark of leadership in terms of how you deal with it. And it's happened in the business world. You look at a company like Apple, if you consider it akin to a startup, as it was in those days, did some very interesting work, but was eclipsed. The founder was thrown out. The company subsequently almost went bankrupt. They brought the founder back. Steve Jobs made it the most profitable and certainly the largest company in the world. Those are all marks of the fact that things change, and your ability to lead rather than to follow or to follow in a successful company's footsteps or shadow is eclipsed by your willingness to take the lead, to share the risk, and to make your company excel in what it does. So ethics and values come part and parcel of the same thing.
Kunal?
Anand, maybe one question and then we should.
Sure.
Kind of.
Kunal, Snapdeal has bought 10 companies, I believe, right, so far. Some large, some like Freecharge, and some small ones for technology and team. How's that worked out? And should we expect to see more from Snapdeal in the next few years?
I don't think we have the best ideas. Neither do I think we have a monopoly on the best people. I feel the best people are going and starting their own companies. And the only way for us to be a really good, long-term, sustainable company is to have a good number of really, really high-quality people. And oftentimes that means you have to bring them in with their companies and with their extended teams. And then give them a larger canvas and a larger role so that their entrepreneurial ambitions also come to fruition. So out of our 12 senior team members, actually 7 or 8 are former entrepreneurs.
Former entrepreneurs. Who you acquired?
Yeah. And not a single one has left our company since we acquired them. So you have to put your hand into what is the motivation for why they started the company. It's to create impact. And if you can provide them a canvas that enables them to create that big impact, then I think what they can achieve is absolutely mind-blowing. So we've done about 15 deals till now. You know, again, I don't think we don't have a target that this month we have to do 4, right? It's very opportunistic. It's very circumstance-driven. Sometimes it's strategy-driven, that we feel we have a gap in our portfolio and we have to go find something.
Right. So, Kunal, just last one question, just a comment. 2015, I think you're the fastest growing valuation, revenue, even transforming the experience that your consumers get, right? I mean, you were from becoming a follower, you're like the leader in everything, every aspect of consumer experience, numbers, fundraise and all. Now, was Mr. Tata the good luck charm that happened?
Is there a doubt? Absolutely. But I mean, I'm actually not kidding at all. So you're talking about good luck charm. Mr. Tata's investment happened last August, I think, give or take. 95% of the capital we've raised as a company, we raised after that. I think it's much, much more than a good luck charm.
We'll take some questions now. Sorry, just a second. Over here.
All right, here you go. This gentleman here. What's your name, my friend?
Rajan. My name is Rajan. My question to Mr. Bal is, do you get the regular advices and mentoring from Mr. Tata?
You know, I don't want to monopolize Mr. Tata's time because he's also very busy. But, you know, oftentimes we actually end up meeting more at such occasions. And I make sure that when I meet him, I take, you know, oftentimes you have to be in the company of greatness to absorb some of it. And I think that's what happens with Mr. Tata. You know, you guys should actually, anyhow, I mean, before I met him, just to acclimatize myself to meeting him in person, I watched every YouTube video of his. And, you know, just to reduce the nervousness. You know, that's how I prepared. And it's just, his way, his style, as you saw today, very simple. There's nothing complex about what he's saying, but it all makes a lot of sense. And oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we tend to, you know, turn ourselves into a pretzel with our convoluted logic. Oftentimes life is much simpler than that, and as are the solutions to problems.
All right, we have another young man here. He's an entrepreneur himself. He was here for a pitch. You want to come closer to me? I won't bite you, I promise. All right, what's your name?
Hello, hi. A very interesting talk, and it does give us entrepreneurs a lot of courage after hearing you guys also have faced the bad situations which we are facing right now. So coming to my question, right, when we'll buy, more related to Snapdeal, that's what I think, right? When we buy apparel online, personally we've faced a lot of sizing issues, return issues, right? Let's say there is a company who can scan a person, convert him into a 3D model, and you can virtually try on apparel. How would you approach that company, or how can that company approach you?
I think my email is the easiest email to find on the web. And so you just write to me and I will respond and we will meet and we will discuss.
I'm so sorry, audience, but entrepreneur has to do it.
Doesn't matter. I like the way you pitched, but it's only the email, not the phone number, right?
Siddharth, can we have, there are 5 sections, 2 questions
All
for
right,
each.
on the extreme left-hand side, the gentleman there, can you throw your voice, please? Can I have the volunteers there? Yes. Ma'am, the gentleman there. All right, sir, throw your voice. We can hear you. The lady's going to take some time. All right, there you go. Pass the mic, lady.
Sorry. Mr. Tata, I think you took up the reins of Tata Company in 1990, and I was born in 1993, so you can excuse the immaturity of my question. But I'd like to thank Tycon for letting me get this opportunity to talk to you and to talk to Mr. Bale. Mr. Bale, it's a standing ovation, you can consider this, because I could not get you on Twitter or on mail. So basically, the question is that, see, my introduction, I'm a seller on your channel, and you started my Indian journey into Indian e-commerce and Indian retail. My question to Mr. Tata is that in any organization, what is the importance of a supplier, a creditor? Because he's giving more investment than any capitalist. And Mr. Bale, do you take lessons from Mr. Tata that how to manage your creditors, how to manage your suppliers? Apart from that, Mr. Bale, one small question. You said that your competitors will not be able to kill Snapdeal. But would internal challenges like sellers or loss of trust of sellers kill Snapdeal? Thank you.
Wow. That's quite a googly, huh?
No, absolutely. Look, I think we as organizations have to keep evolving, keep learning, keep improving, and being open to feedback. So, and I don't think we are anywhere perfect as companies. Different companies do different things better. Some do some things worse. But that doesn't mean we should stop learning from either our competitors or even other industries or other icons. So if you have suggestions, please let me know. Please write.
I would like to know your views also. You know, how should a company treat their suppliers?
I don't quite know how to answer that. I think it would be much the same as Kunal's answer. You have to be open to what's happening around you. We often talk about stakeholders, not shareholders alone. There's a whole ecostructure around you that you have to be aware of, be they the customer, be it your creditor, your supply chain source, to build a successful company. You can't ignore one or the other. But views on what you're doing with any one of them may differ. So it's a difficult question to specifically answer.
All right, Kunal and Mr. Tata, we have a lovely lady here who wants to ask you a question. Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Aditi, and my question is for Mr. Tata. So it's an honor to be speaking with you. We all know Tata as one of the most ethical companies and conglomerates in the country, and you've done so much for the communities of employees and their families, etc., in Jamshedpur through Tata Trust. How are you inculcating these values and encouraging the entrepreneurs that you're investing in to serve and give back to the communities, their employees and their families as early as possible in their journeys?
I think one has to accept that when you are investing in a portfolio of different startups, there are going to be different styles. It's not one part of a single group. And there may be, hopefully not, but there may be companies that do things a different way. I think if that were to happen, I would want to bail out of that company very, very fast. It reminds me of the time when I was in Tata's, where I was put on the board of a company that dealt in pesticides. And the sales manager came to the board meeting and talked about what a bad year it had been. There were no pests. The crops were fine, and his sales were down. And I left the company the next day. So.
All right, I'm going to move to the extreme right-hand corner. Please lift your hand up. I'm coming to you running. Okay, who's it going to be? Any questions from this side? Yes, ma'am, that lady there. I'm zooming into you. Who's your question going to be for? Yes, ma'am. Give it up for the lady as well. Wow. Ma'am, you can come to me. Okay, here, pass the mic, please.
Yeah, hi. So not so much of a question. Just want to say thank you. This whole bit, which I actually was going to not stay for, has been really inspirational and motivational, and really happy to be part of this whole startup revolution. And Kunal, I'm sure when you guys had started up, every bit of motivation and every inspiring thing that you guys heard from anyone in the same space really pushed you to work harder, and happy to go back to work now and tell everyone all the awesome things we've heard. And yeah, I just want to say thank you.
Wow, so she's speaking on behalf of each one of us. All right, do we have time for 2 more questions? Yeah? One more. All right, there's one more lady here. Hi. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Niharika. I was studying in London, and my question is for Mr. Tata. In London, when I was there, a lot of corporates supported students in the art industry, and eventually I want to do art appreciation. So I'm studying art criticism, and I was working at Sotheby's. I wanted to understand if you feel corporates in India will ever support the art market, and your view on it.
She says, will the corporates in India ever support the art market? In London, corporates support the art market a lot. The art market, the fine arts, buying paintings.
In support of the art market, I think this basically has been the manner in which the corporate world has been giving back to the pleasure of the public viewing art and having access to art. I think it's happening more and more in India today. I don't know what the question is. Is it basically asking whether the startups contribute to this?
Yeah, as corporates viewing art as a CSR activity as well. Like,
I think the corporate sector is contributing to accessing and exhibiting art. And I think this will grow in course of time. It'll be many years before it equals what happens overseas.
All right. Do we get greedy with one more question, or what is it?
We are kind of done. Thank you very
all right.
much.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for all our dignitaries on stage. And on behalf of everyone here, Kunal, we are so proud. Mr. Tata, we are all very nervous, but the audience would love to have a selfie with you if you permit. So everybody keep clapping, sir. Can we look this way, please, sir?
This way, this way.
All right, selfie with the audience. Here goes, Mr. Tata, this way. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Let's make it louder for sir. Come on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a very important announcement. Network, meet people. And remember, every time you fall down, get up, grab your glass and start drinking. This is me, Siddharth. Come and saying hasta la vista, baby, and I will see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye. Give it up, come on.